Hello, hello. We are in with Judging by the Cover, and we have a little special thing today where we are looking at the Nintendo Direct because there are a lot of games here and not much time to go for each one. First off, we got Dragon Warrior 1 and 2, the HD 3D remake, or HD 2D remake, I'm sorry. Now, with this one, I did skip Dragon Warrior 3's remake because as much as I enjoyed the game of Dragon Warrior 3, I have a pretty strong leaning towards the Game Boy Color release of it, which had a little bit of extra content that was left out of the remake. I don't know why they didn't remake it from the Game Boy base model. I feel like that would have been a better move. But 1 and 2, I could see that being an incredible expansion of them, since those games, their Game Boy Color remakes didn't have the extra content that 3 had. And on top of that, with 2 showing, a really nice graphical presentation and the addition of an extra character. So they're adding something to the story there that I would like to see. That one, I might actually jump on that. I'd say, 6 out of 10 because it is still a remake as much as it is being redone. I would want to see more about like how they handle the characters and the class building, the character progression, or if it's just going to be like level up and you get your spells as you level up, or how that goes. So I'm scoring that one a 6. No Sleep for Kaname Date. That one, I have no background and no history with this J-pop idol rescue mystery franchise or series, so I'm not going to be looking at that one. Raito Remastered seemed like now I also have no background with this one, the Shin Megami Tensei series. It seems like that's what it comes from with the whole devil summoner thing. So both of those, I'm putting at a 3, mostly because of my lack of exposure to those series and to those properties. For people that are fans, please, by all means, please don't be offended that I don't have a high score for it just because of my own lack of exposure. For people that are on there or are in the know, by all means, love those games. Shadow Labyrinth. Now, Shadow Labyrinth threw me for an absolute loop. If I can go ahead and get a quick little skip here. Now, when I first saw the trailer, I was like, what is going on with this Shadow Labyrinth nonsense? Like, why does that thing look like a cyberpunk Pac-Man? Because it is. It's freaking Pac-Man. Like a Metroidvania looking Pac-Man thing. And I'm like, this is the coolest twist I've seen on Pac-Man in a long time, and I am all for this. Solid 10 out of 10 on this presentation and the idea behind it, with like some grimdark Namco classic thing come to life. So 10 out of 10, checking this out. July comes around. Whether or not I get it will depend on my time and my budget at the time. Maybe I'll be waiting. I'm going to add it to a wish list and see if it drops on sale or something. And then we had Patapon getting a remake. Now, I did not play the Patapon, but the little characters and the idea behind it being like a little button press rhythm game where you had to do the drum beat for these little like tribal scribbles was a novel idea for the time that they originally came out in. And, it might be something worth checking out. I'm probably going to check out some YouTubers or some streamers to see that gameplay in motion. So Patapon, I'm going to say a 7 out of 10. Could be higher if maybe the remakes add some stuff to it. I know when it comes to remakes, a lot of times they can just be ports and all that. And I would like to see them actually do something more with it than just the base games. Let's see. Then we have A Story of Seasons, Grand Bazaar. Now, Harvest Moon series, I have a limited history with. I played Harvest Moon in my childhood on the Game Boy with those titles. As for the sequel series, the Story of Seasons, I haven't played those. I haven't played a lot of those, but I've played a hell of a lot of Stardew Valley, and I'm trying out more cozy games now. Anybody who's seen on the channel, we've got the Fields of Mistria series that is currently running. I am looking at doing a mega modded Stardew run, possibly some Fae Farm, and some other cozy games that I want to try doing as a series for the good times. Story of Seasons basically follows in that same vein, but whether or not I would pick it up, I don't know if I would, because I have started testing the waters with Fae Farm, and I gotta say, the 3D graphic quality of it, like, the quality's good, but I don't know if I like the 3D aesthetic of it compared to the pixel art that we got from the likes of Stardew Valley and the older games of that or older and more like retrofitted games of that genre. But of course, that is just a personal preference. Some people like the 3D graphics. By all means, go for that. But because of that, I think I'm probably gonna rank this one as a 4. Just kind of throw. I mean, mostly I'm throwing numbers out there, but I'm gonna rank this one as a 4 based on that preference. I do like the character customization, and the world looks simple enough to get the point across. But I like the 2D pixel sprites when it comes to this genre. I feel like the 3D tries to detail a little too much. Now the cows do keep that classic Harvest Moon aesthetic to it. It translates well into 3D compared to some things that I've seen try to translate into 3D. But I just think the pixel art just does so much wonder for this genre as a whole. You can get so creative with the limitation of it that I think gets a little lost when you try to make them extra sparkly. Next up, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Now, I've played very little Metroid and I've played even less Metroid Prime, but I'm gonna say the Metroid. I'm saying a solid minimum 7 on that one. It looks like it's carrying, from what I've seen on older trailers of the Metroid Prime series, and been hanging out with some friends who also played Metroid Prime, that they're really going a long way to make sure that Metroid holds true to its roots, including its prime roots, where you have your exploration, you have your scanning, you have your unfolding story that's a little below the hood, but a lot of action gameplay. The With the kind of control scheme that it looks like it would have, where you're in this first-person view, I would initially be concerned that the controls might be difficult to adapt, but apparently the controls were intuitive enough and responsive enough with this kind of layout for them to make now 4 games in this Prime series with the added bonus of new telekinetic powers that Samus is going to be gifted with, as shown in the trailer. For anybody that's worried about spoilers, like, come on, it's right there in the trailer. Anybody who's watching the trailer is also seeing this whole telekinesis thing. But that is a cool aspect to the game that I think can really help to flesh out the lore and the background for the character of Samus, which we have seen going about in a lot of these games too, where it's more than just the bare bones, like how Metroid and Super Metroid would have been, of just go in, do your mission, and you get a little snippet of stuff here and there. But no, more recent games obviously put a lot more focus on fleshing out the character's story. And at the end of the trailer, they even showcase a very stylish looking red armor that I don't know if that's supposed to be the Various suit or if it's an actual like new armor with new powers. There's something going on there that I think has a lot of potential for just being outright amazing for fans of this franchise. So even though, the other things I scored like 2 or 4, I'm going to say 7 on this one. Again, the reason it's as low as a 7 is because, in large part, of my lack of exposure to the series. If I had more of a background to it, I'd probably go and rank this like 8 or 9, solid, until I see a little more gameplay, see what kind of stuff gets shown on the store page with extra screenshots. But until then, it looks like an excellent presentation that they've put out so far. Next up, Disney Villains Cursed Cafe. Now, I don't know out there who asked for this, but I've seen in the eShop there's like some cafe and some potion crafting games, and it looks like Disney decided to do their own version of one of those things. And those games always struck me as a nice novelty, but in the back of my mind, I kept wondering like how much actual gameplay is there to it, or is it more of just pick the right thing to get the right character interaction. So I'm wondering how limited it might be as a concept and stuff. I'm wondering if it might be like a 4 or 5 out of 10. Maybe a 6, just because Yzma seems to be your potion shop manager, which is hilarious to me because I'm pretty sure anybody who's seen The Emperor's New Groove knows what happened the last time Yzma was put in charge of potions. Uh, for anybody not in the know, it didn't quite go her way. Then we have Witchbrook coming up. Now, this is one that in particular had really caught my attention. Remember what I said earlier with Story of Seasons and how I prefer the pixel aesthetic? Well, here we go. Cozy game, pixel aesthetic in a magic school. So anybody out there wanting like Harry Potter adventure, you're literally in a magic school. There's multiplayer that they mention in here. You're doing stuff. You get a town. It just looks like it has that absolute cozy vibe, interpersonal character relationships in there in a different setting. So instead of a farming sim, you're at Magic Academy. And this looks like one that I'm might very well end up picking up on launch day. 10 out of 10. Uh the name stuck out to me too, that Chucklefish is behind this, and I'm like, Chucklefish, why does that sound familiar? And then I go and look at their page, and they're responsible for a bunch of other games with a very similar visual aesthetic. The pixel art, they lean heavily on that very stylish pixel art. So 10 out of 10. Holiday 2025. Look for this one. We're probably going to be doing some streams or some series for it as soon as that hits. Where am I on my list? I wrote all this down. Eternal Life of Goldman. Now this one seemed interesting. Very stylish. It looks like a kind of hand drawn platformer, kind of like how some indie games like Braid and stuff had that very animated aesthetic to it. And then you see there he's doing the pogo stick jumping on the cane like freaking Scrooge McDuck there. And it looks like they're very stylized with their art. I love the backgrounds, I love the art. I'm not a huge platformer player, so that one might not be up my alley, but I'm ranking that one at an 8 before we move on to the Gradius. Gradius now I haven't played much of this one, but I'm ranking this one a solid 10 for the Gradius collection for a couple reasons. One, the package is including Gradius, like 3 Gradius games, Salamander, 2 Salamander games, and Life Force. So 6 games plus an all new Salamander 3. So the bundle is coming not only with the bundle, but with an all new game packaged with it as well. So you're getting a whole legacy collection of classic games and an actual full new game. So that's something there. I'm ranking it 10 just on that alone, that it's not just a flat remake of all the old content. Rift of the Necrodancer coming in. This one is going to be another rank 10 out of me. I have not played Cadence of Hyrule, but I have played Crypt of the Necrodancer. And the fact that this one's coming in with that similar kind of beat vibe with the music and everything, the Guitar Hero style gameplay, not quite my angle, but it's a solid for this series as a franchise. For them making multiple projects now with this similar vibe and aesthetic. So moving on, we got Tamagotchi Plaza. Now I'm going to come right out the gate here, and I'm going to get some haters on this one. I'm going to say, based on what I see in the trailer, probably a 3. What I'm seeing here, I kind of get Animal Crossing vibes with a very shop-centered progression of what feels almost like WarioWare mini games with a little bit of Animal Crossing style fashion design, where you're given like some individual things. Maybe if I get to see more of it, my rating will go up. But for people that want this kind of cute aesthetic, I could see people getting a lot of enjoyment out of this. I'm just wondering how much actual gameplay there is to it to really draw or to prolong the game, or if it's like going to be just each shot being its own puzzle. I could see the rating going up if I see some more. It's just I feel like it's kind of skinning to be a lot of what all the other stuff is. Next up, now one that I am very much excited for. Now, Pokemon Legends, I am working currently on a 100% completion of Pokemon Legends Arceus. ZA coming out later this year is going to be another one I snap up right away. And already I'm seeing a lot of things that have me hyped on the series. I'm going to say 8 out of 10 for this one. As excited as I am for it, the combat, I'm a little concerned with how the combat's going to feel compared to other games. Legends Arceus did a great job of changing the combat mechanics so that you have a new way to puzzle through fights, but in a way that still changed things up so that, or still kept it close enough to the old so that you could still have a bit more of the relaxed fighting gameplay. This one I am still excited to see, though, even though I'm giving it an 8 instead of a solid 10. As much, I'm 100% on the Pokemon games. One of the things that struck me out here, besides just the wild zones, the fact that they have a nighttime battle zone system going on. I know Legends Arceus had a lot of complaints with not enough trainer battles in it, which for the setting made a lot of sense that you wouldn't have many trainer battles because trainers were not a thing in the setting and era of Legends Arceus. In here, from what I understand, this takes place after the events of Pokemon X and Y, with Lumio City getting a whole new development project. So this is set in modern or maybe near future timeline where trainers and competitions are commonplace. So it's a citywide competition going on where you have to rank up from rank Z to rank A, have Pokemon Legends ZA. So it is giving you that whole dichotomy. And the fact that you can basically jump people from behind and mug them in the middle of the night with a Pokemon battle, that's hilarious to me. The fact that you can sneak up on people and mug them like you see in the trailer there. But because of the battles, like the battle mechanics, I could see them still being very intuitive, very fun. It's just until I actually see the controls in my hands, I am going to have to bump it down to an 8 until I see exactly how much that the fights get affected by these changes in the mechanics. But again, very excited for this. Looking forward to it. I'm going to be getting this on launch day and probably trying to stream some of it. Depending on what actual day it comes out, I might have to take a day off of work to get started on that. Hopefully I can finish my 100% completion of Legends Arceus before that happens. Next up, Rhythm Heaven Groove. Now, Rhythm Heaven, that's yet another series. I know I try to label myself as a gamer, but I don't necessarily get the chance to play every single thing that comes out. We all have budget and time constraints. Now, this one, I have to rate this one a 2 for myself. Now, again, these ratings are for me based on what I'm seeing. The presentation of the trailer is incredible. The way they started off with a press the button to jump through the thing, and it's like, oh, that's a complete failure. But here, let's add the music and let's add the rhythm to it. The presentation of it is incredible. You know what? Because of that, I'm actually going to bump it to a 5. Solid 5 just for the trailer presentation. It's just the game itself, I feel like it would be limited. Like, yes, it's a silly, goofy little rhythm mini game, like rhythm collection of mini games, is how it looks to me. It's just never been the kind of game that has strictly appealed to me personally. But for the people that do like this, these games can be a lot of good time, like a really good time. It's just a matter of me, the kind of gameplay that I would enjoy would be something that I could more strategize through rather than just push the right button at the right moment. But visually, behind the visual design of it, it's got a lot of charm to it, and I can see why people love the Rhythm Heaven games, considering the sheer amount of just vibe that you get out of it. It's just when I'm trying to go for vibes out of a game, I guess I might just need something different. But again, that is me personally. For people out there who are looking forward to it, go for it. Next up, they showcased a virtual game card in the presentation. Now, virtual game card, I'm going to say potential 10 out of 10. depending on how smooth and intuitive the process works. I love the idea that they're doing. And in an era of digital game distribution, it could be something that is incredibly like player and consumer friendly, and coming from a company like Nintendo that is famous for being less than consumer friendly, this is a huge opportunity for people to be able to try games that they might not have otherwise bought, because of being able to not only transfer your games between two consoles if you have two consoles signed in on the same account, I'm guessing, but to also be able to loan them to people in your family or in your friend group. I could say, if I get a digital copy of something, I could for 2 weeks loan it to my spouse's Switch so that she can enjoy it. Especially for games that are single player. That way, you don't have to buy two copies of a game for something. Or if you have like the physical game cartridge would be another thing. But then again, if you don't want to buy the physical game cartridge, or if the physical game cartridge becomes harder to obtain later on, like some things, like I know the Stardew Valley physical edition is jacked up on the price just because of supply. Um, but if it extends to not only first party Nintendo titles, but basically your entire Switch library, if that becomes a possibility, just the ability to have people in your family be able to loan out and swap out especially indie games, getting to try them out on that smaller scale so that you don't have to buy like 3, 4, 5 copies of everything for everybody to enjoy. So potential 10 out of 10, but depending on what all games are able to be done to it, it could easily bump down to a 5 if it doesn't allow like the sharing of smaller indie games that would be for more of those short-term gameplay sessions. Then they showcased after that a whole bunch of short trailers, which I'm not going to go ahead. I'm not going to give scores on all of the extra little trailers just because of how many they shot off at rapid fire. So, High on Life was one. This one I probably won't be giving a look at myself. It does look like that. I recognize the gun with the little face thing. That was like a whole Oddworld thing or something to that effect. Star Overdrive's a maybe. I do like some of these action things. Now, the next one, Wandering Village. A city builder on the back of a dinosaur sounds like an incredible concept. That one I may give a look, depending on the cozy vibes and budget and time at time. I do have a lot of other things, a lot of other projects I want to get to. But if there's anything that might bump up to the top of the list, Wandering Village is up there. King of Meat, Luz Lagoon, those are showing some additional action adventure type of games. Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time, is another interesting one. And it looks like they have some Animal Crossing style terraforming and room decoration. So that could be kind of cool, along with Fantasy Life being like you go through the jobs and level up all your jobs and skills to progress through the game. Although the last time I played a Fantasy Life game was on the 3DS, and it was incredibly grindy. I got a little bored with it too early. Saga Frontier 2 Remaster. Now, the Saga franchise is not one that I have put much into. The gameplay or the leveling and progression style of the games threw me for a loop a little bit. I get it's more like kingdom and world story progression as opposed to like your traditional JRPG, if I'm recalling with the series correctly. But it does seem to have a lot of cool concepts for people that want this kind of gameplay, especially ones who are fans of the original Saga Frontier or Saga 2, whatever history they have with the series. Visually, it looks incredible. But like I've said before, the pixel art can be amazing given the right work into it. I do like what they did with that, so I'm going to say a 6 on this one for people that want to go for that. Monument Valley 1, 2, and 3. So I think they're doing these as 3 separate games, although maybe 1 and 2 are together. I forget exactly how they labeled it, but these look like the kind of games to give you some puzzle solving, like a little bit of puzzle, reach the end of the stage kind of thing, where it can be a little stressed, but still kind of just a visual pleasing semi-cozy puzzle-solving game where you can just kind of like meander and slowly work your way through it as you go through with the characters. Mother-daughter story in the second one, and then I guess some kind of a save the world or restore the light in the third one. So visually, it looks amazing. I do like the very simple minimalist approach that it takes, but and then the physics having like the whole what is it? The little MC Escher stairs thing going on with some of the stages. It looks like. And then moving on. So we're with the Monuments Valley. I'm gonna say, you know what? 7 out of 10 on Monuments Valley. Might not be something I go for, but definitely worth the visual appeal and I imagine some relaxed music that it's showcased in the trailer. If the music can keep that atmosphere going, possibly bump to an 8. Everybody's Golf Hot Shots. Now, the trailer is showing me a golf game. Not even like Mario Golf, where things got like absolutely crazy in some of their mechanics. So like some of their real time, just run and smash type of situations. But then again, like when you're playing golf, or when you're playing a golf game, trying to keep it like traditional to golf, but then adding the twists to it is kind of like, how do you spice up and make the golf more exciting? So I do see that they're doing like some stuff in there with some special game modes, but at its core, I feel like the golf games just don't excite me. I'm gonna say a 1 for me. Now, if anybody else out there wants to eviscerate me in the comments because of my rating, just be aware that my rating is based on my preference and my impression of the trailer. For people that are all about this, that like that everybody's golf series, by all means, enjoy your games, love your games. It's not for me. Marvel Cosmic Invasion. I almost said Marvel Capcom. Now this one, I'm gonna rate this one a 9, based on this incredible graphic presentation. It looks and feels like old arcade game, like the old Marvel arcade, Marvel or X-Men arcade games. The side scroll beat 'em ups up to 4 players. You got all kinds of tag team stuff going on. This one just looks like it would be an absolute good time for anybody wanting that vibe. Again, it might not be a game that goes for my personal taste, but the sheer presentation of it, where they have a new game coming out that looks and feels like those arcade games, but the arcade games in the modern era, that is going to be something that fans of the series, fans of Marvel, and fans of beat 'em ups are probably going to eat up. The short little trailer does a lot for that. Now, this is one I have very mixed feelings on this. Tomodachi Life, Living the Dream. I played Tomodachi Life on the 3DS, and I loved it. I loved the Mii characters and being able to just put in any characters in there. I had Nintendo characters, I had other video game characters, I had some Pokemon, I had the Game Grumps on my island apartment building. I had myself and some close friends of mine all in there, all living in this apartment building together. The gameplay, though, from what I remember, is very limited. The characters are very autonomous. You basically just click on them to maybe give them an item, give them food, or to see a dream sequence event like this one. And you don't control when those things happen. You just click on the little bubbles when that character has an event happen, which is novel, but it doesn't really give you a lot of gameplay. So depending on how much is added to Living the Dream can make or break that. So because of that, I'm going to say 5 out of 10 for now, until I can see more of what Living the Dream is and it has to offer outside of just the little character events that you have no control over. But at the same time, like, I feel like Tomodachi Life would just be more effective as a mobile game that you check on your phone from time to time. The problem with the mobile game is if they were to do it that way, you know, it would be riddled with microtransactions where you have to like buy the extra credits, a la Miitomo or something to that effect. Um, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there'll be a lot more going for it. I am excited for the game in general because I could see it being incredible for some short form content and meme videos. It's just as far as actual gameplay, I'm a little skeptical about how much we'll be able to get out of it outside of just making those visual memes. Um, that is my concern for it. Although the meme worthiness might make it worth a purchase for me, depending on the price tag. Finally, they showcased Nintendo Today, which I downloaded this app. Uh, Based on my impression of this, though, at first I thought, oh, is Nintendo like trying their hand at doing a little social network thing again? If so, 5 out of 10, go for it again. Miiverse was an interesting little experiment that didn't really go anywhere because it was bound to Nintendo. So outside of Nintendo players, it was kind of barren. Plus, there was some whole like little hacking and issues with that happened with it at times. But instead, it's a little news app. So I'm gonna have to say a 2 out of 10 on this one. I do understand why they're doing this to be able to broadcast to Nintendo fans because of the concerns with how social media has become increasingly problematic. So they want something in house that they can go ahead and just push notifications to let people know, hey, this is coming up. Here's some trailers that we'd like to share with you. So a lot of cool stuff with that. But again, it is just a little news app. If you're a Nintendo fan and you want to see those things coming in, check it out. You can at least skin it in. Maybe use it to put like a little Nintendo widget on your phone or Nintendo background art or something. It's kind of cool for that respect. But as far as getting the news, we do have, the YouTube channels. People online are constantly talking about things as they come out. I mean, you're watching this video or listening to this podcast right now. And for anybody that has stuck with us for this, thank you again for joining us. I just tried to go rapid fire through this to get through the trailers as they were going on there, my general impressions on them. Overall, I'd say the Nintendo Direct presentation as a whole, solid 10. I It caught me by surprise when it dropped, and it has a lot of games where yes, I did give low scores on some of these based on the trailers, but some of them are based on my own lack of exposure to the series. So the short trailers that they showed didn't really show me much of what I could expect as a newcomer to the game. But for people that have been in those games or been part of those game series longer, that have a better idea of what to expect, by all means, eviscerate me in the comments. Just go all in on there. I don't mind. I don't take it personally. But I'd say the presentation as a whole was a 10 out of 10, both for those. If Even though some of the games are ones that it's like I have no excitement for, or I have issues with maybe that this is just a remake or remaster. A couple of them looks like they do quite a bit to advance the game. Like I said, with Dragon Warrior 1 and 2, 2 giving you a whole extra playable character in your party. So they're doing something to expand the game and the original story on that one. The way that which one was it? The So much went through that my brain just completely. The Gradius collection, the fact that it's a classic collection with a whole new game in the bundle, that's incredible. Like that doesn't usually happen. Those classic collections are very often just straight ports of the original collections. Like I know some stuff like Mega Man Battle Network collection had some online play added to it, but that almost feels like an afterthought for the situation. Plus, those things still depend on other people actively using those online features in order to really get a lot out of it. And then there was still a lot of games on there that I am genuinely excited for. Witchbrook, hands down, is going to be a launch day situation. Just because it looks like exactly the kind of cozy game vibe that I have been craving lately. Again, that is a personal thing, but for those of us who are getting a little older, sometimes we just want a cozy game to chill and vibe with, especially if we get the opportunity to play with friends and family. And honestly, that is one of the best things that I have found with gaming is being able to enjoy it with the people you care about. So thanks again, everybody that's been joining us. This has been Neophanks on Judging by the Cover on a special Nintendo Direct edition. So next week we'll be checking out something else. I heard there's a Monster Hunter update or DLC thing coming out. So depending on scheduling, I may have Flamed Ezra and Killian back on to go over that once I see some information coming about that.